Hello and welcome back to What the Frick podcast. If you're catching up from my last episode, you know I just got back from Europe. I went to London and then Paris and got back just a couple nights ago. Still getting back into the swing of things, and I think I might be a little sick from traveling and screaming at Taylor Swift concerts. So my voice is a little bit not perfect, but we're here, we're fine, we're doing great, and we're gonna record this episode. So, to start it off, like I just said, the reason for this trip was to see Taylor Swift in London. And yes, I've seen her already 3 times. But me and my friend, who I have already seen Taylor Swift with twice, and also I went to London with her last year, had this great idea that we should go and see her. And when Taylor started her European leg of the tour earlier this year, the prices in Europe compared to America were just so exponentially better that it was kind of like, well, why wouldn't you go to Europe? And there was a night where before her Paris show, there were like tickets going for like literally $80. And it was like, do we fly to Paris? And I couldn't quite get myself to be okay with spending a couple grand on flights and also flying around the world for 36 hours just to come back. Because of work and other obligations, it wouldn't have been like we're there for a while enjoying Paris. It would have been we're here for the concert and we're leaving. And even though the ticket price is pretty low, the price of getting there is high. So I couldn't quite get myself to be okay with that. So then we decided, you know what? Let's plan a trip around this. And we both love London. It's a great city. It's easy to get around and speak English, obviously. So a few months ago, we booked our tickets to London for the exact dates that she is in London for, which was August 15th to the 20th. So we flew in August 14th, and we decided we'd have 4 chances to try and see her, and then it just worked out that we were able to get pretty decently priced tickets back to LAX from Paris. So we spent a day and a half in Paris. But as things got closer, we really manifested this. We did not have tickets because even though it's cheaper in Europe, it's still pretty expensive in London. I'd say the prices were ranging from like 1,500 to 2,500. I mean, we're kind of just waiting for it to get closer and closer until we really like pulled the trigger and bought these tickets. So I have been pretty much just like trolling the internet. There's a lot of Twitter accounts that are like Swifties who do like resale tickets. People that can no longer use their tickets will like post to these accounts who will verify everything, and they kind of will like either pick you from a random generator, or the person selling the ticket will like decide who they want to give it to. So the day we were flying out to London, one of these accounts reached out to me saying, hey, like someone picked you. Do you want these tickets? And they happened to be general admission floor tickets, which is cool in a way because you can get as close as you want, but also there's nowhere to sit and you're kind of packed in. So at the time, me and my friend were like, we have no other option. We're not going to spend like 3 grand on this. So I got those tickets for us. And then we arrived in London, and the concert was the very next day. We actually ended up looking on StubHub, which we checked we checked this website, I'd say, religiously about every hour just to see what was going on. And it's quite interesting to watch the prices and to watch there go from being like 600 tickets to being like 4 left the day of the concert. And we literally just got lucky, and someone had posted like 2 seated tickets in the 100 level area for about $800 each, and that was only a little bit more than what we had paid for the floor tickets. So we were like, we'd rather have a seat and not be like rushed on getting there and like fighting people for a spot on the floor rather than just paying a little bit extra and having a seat. So we got those tickets, and then I ended up selling the tickets I had bought to another Swiftie at the same price I got them for. I thought that was good karma, so I did that, and that was very easy to sell as well. It took literally like 4 minutes to sell that ticket. And then, yeah, so we went. Our first full day in London was Taylor Swift's. We didn't really do anything the actual day of. We literally just got up, ate, got ready, and left for Wembley. Seeing all the TikToks about how hard it was getting there, and just the magnitude of the arena, and also with the week before being Vienna with the terrorist plot going on. There was just kind of a lot going on in the air, and so we wanted to make sure we were there early and we like knew what to do. But it was actually very easy to get to Wembley. We just had to walk to a stop about 15 minutes away, and then take that about 5 stops down. I think the train ride was maybe like 25 minutes, and then you get off and there's just Swifties everywhere. And it was quite funny walking around in our outfits around London when there weren't other Swifties around yet. My friend was wearing a tortured poet's look with like tattoos on her face for Fortnite, and I was wearing like a pink fringe fearless type dress with sparkly boots. So it felt quite weird at first, but then walking around as you would get to the train station, you'd just see more and more people who were, all bejeweled up. So it felt nice to be surrounded by other fellow Swifties. But getting off the train was pretty surreal. Like, there's already just so many people trying to get to the stadium. They had a little thing on the wall where they had like renamed every tube stop a different Taylor Swift song, which was cool. And then you just see like this mass hysteria of people, and it's a pretty long walkway to Wembley. I'd say maybe like 2 football fields of this just concrete road that leads from the train station to the front of the stadium. And it's pretty cool to get off and just see the amount of people in the road, like waiting to get in and taking pictures. And so we got there, we got some food, we were hungry again, and then we had about an hour-ish until we were allowed to be in the stadium. So we went and found this place that was playing Taylor's music and just kind of sat there and had a drink. And then as it got closer to the time to get in, we walked back over, took all of our pictures in front of Wembley. They had like a giant Taylor sign that was going. There were people like trading bracelets, and we got into the line for our specific seated area. We got in, and Wembley is so cool, let me say. Like, being in America, I remember Arizona when she played here, like I could barely walk around the football field of like the concourse level because it was just so jam packed. But there was so much room, and it's just so wide in there. And it's like decently priced too. Like you could get 4 bottles of water for like €10 or £10. You could get, it was like 2 for 1 cocktails, so like $20 for two. They had like giant candy machines where you could like put your own candy into plastic bags, and it was so unique in there. And then the seats itself were pretty good. We did have a partially obstructed view, so for anyone that's familiar, there's the giant stage, and then there's like the diamond in the middle, and then there's like the very front where she sings her surprise songs. So that little square on the very front was obstructed by the VIP tent, but we weren't too worried about it because the diamond is where she pretty much plays the majority of the show, and we had all, of course, already seen the show before, so we were happy. And this show was also pretty cool because Ed Sheeran came out, and I kind of manifested it. We were talking to this other Swiftie who was in our area saying, like, I feel like Ed Sheeran might come out since he's from here and plays here a lot and they're good friends. And I was like, yeah, they could play Endgame, and everything has changed. And lo and behold, mid-concert, Taylor brings Ed out and they sing a mashup of those 2 songs plus Thinking Out Loud, which was pretty cool. So that was a nice moment. And then me and my friend always leave during Karma, the last song, just because, I mean, normally it's hard getting out of the stadium, but seeing how it was in London when she went there the first time, and the amount of people, if you look online and just Google like after Taylor Swift Wembley train line, it is it's scary. Like it looks like people are passing through the Red Sea or something, but it's just thousands of people standing in this like 2 football length road that I described, trying to get back onto the train station because everyone's, training in. So even with leaving a song early, there was still a line. There was still a lot of people. So I can only imagine what it was like had you stayed the whole concert. But yeah, it was a pretty incredible experience. So following the concert, it was nice because I had made some reservations in London, and you had like put a credit card down. So we just kind of assumed like if we end up getting tickets for Taylor and we have something booked, if we can't cancel in time, we'll just have to pay the fee, whatever. But luckily, we didn't have any issues with that, and everything that I had like pre-booked reservations for just fell on a day where we didn't have Taylor. But the day after was nice. We were obviously pretty exhausted from the concert, and we had an afternoon tea session booked about 2 or 3 blocks from our hotel, which was pretty cute. So we got to pick out a tea and have little like sandwiches and scones and little like parfait looking pastry type things. And we were pretty tired, so we didn't even head to that until 1 p.m. So we just had like a nice, easygoing morning. And then from there, we had like pretty much our first actual day in London. So we went to The Black Dog, which is a song from the new album that Taylor has written about, and it was cool to see because they've really like remarketed it with Taylor stuff, and they sell like merch in there, and it was cool to see. And there were lots of Swifties just like eating there before going to the show that night. So that was a cool thing to see. And then we just kind of walked along the river. We found this cool restaurant bar that's a boat, that's just like standstill, but it overlooks Parliament and Big Ben, and the sun was shining. And it's funny because they were like, "We're going through a heat wave here," and it was only like 80 something degrees, and I was like, "This is nice. Like, what do you mean a heat wave?" But yeah. We also tried taking the Uber boat there, which is like a thing where you can just go along the river there. So we tried that, but it was honestly not really worth it because it's not just like you call an Uber and you get in it. Like you have to wait in a line to get in another line to get on the boat. And so we didn't know that, so we had to wait like 35 minutes. But we wanted to try it. We already paid for it, so we did that. And then we went back to one of our favorite bars called The Vault, which is located underneath Tower Bridge. And they have this little like seating area next to it where you can sit, and you're pretty much sitting like under the bridge on the side of the river, and you have a really cool view of it. So we did that last time we were there too. This day, I'm noticing, was just really packed. We did our first night going out, in Soho, which is like a pretty poppin' area for younger people. Last time we were out, we didn't really find a lot of people that we made friends with, but we just had a completely different experience this time in terms of finding people to talk to. We were at this one bar and just having a hard time getting a drink, and the laws there are also kind of weird. Like everything closes at midnight, and they will like ring a bell and be like, literally get out, like go in the streets, do whatever you want, but like you cannot be in our pub. Something about like losing their liquor license. I don't know. I found it very strange though that a city this big has like a midnight curfew, but whatever. But we ended up meeting these guys that were pretty fun, and we kind of hung out with them. They showed us some areas. They were a little bit interesting though, and they did end up telling us that all of them were single, and then we found out later that some of them were lying. So typical guy fashion, but overall they were fun and just kind of showed us a cool place to hang out, which was always a good time. And then we ended up going to Camden Market. It was my first time there. There were some cool like little Swifty stores, although I'd say a lot of the merch there was pretty low quality. So we didn't end up buying anything, but it was cool to just look at it and see. We tried going to the Victoria and Albert Museum where they were having like a Taylor Swift trail little like exhibit there. You would walk around the museum and you could see like outfits she had worn in the past. We found this very overrated. I think it would have been more fun if there wasn't just like so many people there, but obviously the concerts were going on, so it was already pretty full and it's already a pretty popular museum. But you had to like wait in line just to like get to each part of it, and it wasn't like all in one room. You had to like walk through the entire museum. So me and my friend were like, we're not gonna wait in a line just to see this like glass case where people were like taking full on selfies and pictures of themselves. So we ended up just like walking in the line next to it and just kind of glancing at everything, but not actually like stopping and looking at it. We just didn't have the patience for that. Then we went to Hyde Park, walked around there, saw Kensington Palace, the Opera Memorial, and then just sort of made our way to a little pub where we could just sit and relax for a minute. It was always our plan to go back to Harrods, the really bougie mall, because it's a cool experience, and it's near where we were, so I would kind of plan out the days based on like area, so we weren't just like traveling around to different parts and then going back to the same vicinity, if that makes sense. But this is where the story takes another turn. So my friend's like on her phone pretty religiously, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, my friend from home just got a code for like night 7, I think it was, for Taylor, which was 2 days from then. And I was like, what? And how Ticketmaster works is for at least for Taylor, like you would sign up for a code, and then if you got the code, you could go into the Ticketmaster site and buy face value tickets. And for some reason, they just decided to hoard like a bunch of tickets. So a day or two before the concert, they'll like release more codes out. But it's kind of annoying unless you live in that particular city. Like you can just fly to London like the day before the concert. No. So us being the psychopaths we are and just already being there, it worked out great. So in the middle of the street outside of Harrods, we are FaceTiming her friend, and she is buying us face value like $200 tickets in the 100 level for the show the night after that day. And it was just so crazy because we didn't even think we were going to be able to see her once, let alone twice, for a good price. So we ended up going to Taylor Swift again. And it's weird to say, but we people really thought we were crazy for what we were doing, and we would meet people being like, yeah, we just came to London and we don't have tickets, but we're hoping for the best. It takes a real special pair. My friend and I say like, who's gonna match our freak? Really just us. But it paid off, you know. We said if we end up going and we are not able to find tickets or they're just too expensive or whatnot, like at least we have a fun vacation in London and Paris and we're having a good time. We're not just flying here for a day, you know. But it ended up working out that we had a fun vacation and we saw Taylor Swift twice. So that was fun. We went to our favorite pub right after where we had met a famous actor last year, and we sat and had a little celebratory drink while we ate our pastries from Harrods and just were in total shock that we were going to see this woman again. So we ended the trip because technically we like lost a day in London because going to see Taylor pretty much takes up the whole day, let's be real. So that next day was our last day in London, and we pretty much just had a pretty chill day. We walked around, and then I like to end a city with a rooftop bar. So we went to this rooftop bar in the financial district that overlooked Tower Bridge and the Shard. And then we just ended the night back at one of our favorite restaurants that we went to last year that thankfully let us just walk in at like 10 p.m. We also made friends with these like bartender from one of the local pubs who had one of our favorite beers called Jubel. It's like 4% alcohol, but it's really good and tastes like peach. So we went there, got a free round of drinks from him, who actually ended up sitting with us for a drink. And then I like to do this thing where I like collect unique glasses. You know, when like you go somewhere and they have like the name of it on like the beer glass or something. So I've kind of made a collection of it, and I ended up just asking this bartender, like, hey, do you mind if I take this glass? It's like this giant beer glass that has the name of the beer on it. And he was like, yeah, I don't care. So I took that to add to my collection. And then we made our way to dinner. But the whole next day was just based around Taylor, and I did not have another outfit because I just was so in shock that we saw her once, let alone twice. So I ended up borrowing my friend's leather mini skirt and kind of going with an all black leather route. I was trying to manifest Reputation, Taylor's version, but we all know that that did not happen. So, but it was still cute. So, I just want to say it felt really special being in Wembley 2 nights, and we sat on opposite sides of the stadium. So seeing the Wembley Arch. There's a song from Taylor called August where there's a line where she says, living for the hope of it all. And that was me and my friend's motto going into this trip, is that we are just living for the hope of it all. We are living for the hope of tickets, just living for the hope of something great. Like, and so hearing the song the second night really felt special because I was like, we really are just living in the moment, like hoping for something great, like hoping for Reputation TV, hoping for, I don't know, it just felt special. And Wembley also is not like a dome, it's open air, so it's seeing like the sky and all the lights and just, oh, it felt so magical, and I just wish I could go back to that moment. But yeah, I don't know, getting emotional here, as you can see. The next day we went to Paris. So we were a little bit stupid, and we took the train from London to Paris. We did not feel like going back to Heathrow. It's just a disaster there. If you can avoid Heathrow, I would do it at all costs. But usually a ticket between London and Paris is not that expensive, but for some reason when we were there, it was extremely expensive. Not sure if because of the Olympics or whatnot. We were actually in Paris the 2 weeks in between the actual Olympics and the Paralympics. I don't know why it was so expensive. But we got to the station like way too early. We were not sure how long it would take to go through security and customs and all of that. But we had like an hour and a half before our train left, and there was another train leaving like 20 minutes later. So we tried to switch to that train, and they were like, sorry, it's full, but if you want, you can like switch to business class for like X amount of money and get on that. And me and my friend, being the people that we are, were just like, YOLO, like, let's not sit in this train station for an extra hour and a half if we could like be in Paris. So we paid a substantial amount of money on this train ticket overall, but it did get us to Paris quicker, and it was lovely. And it's also very funny because our hotel room in London ended up being a handicap room, and it's the same hotel we stayed at a year ago together, so we were pretty familiar with it and the area. But me and my friend both ended up having a checked bag, a carry-on bag, and then like a backpack of some sorts. So having the handicapped room in London actually was really nice because we had so much extra space. And for people that have been to Europe, like the hotel rooms are just a lot tinier. The bathrooms were small, like there's just not a lot of space. So when we got to Paris, we had a normal sized hotel room, and we literally had no room for anything. So the entire like walkway of the room was just filled with our open suitcases. There was nowhere to walk. We were both just like going in and out of the bathroom, getting ready. Like it was an interesting time. We were only there for 2 nights, so it was fine. But we tried to fit in as much as we could while we were there. So the first day it was kind of gloomy and rainy, but we still got the most of it. And we saw Notre Dame, which is reopening fully in December. We saw Luxembourg Gardens, and there was a lot of just like Paris 2024 stuff going on, like all the signs and stuff for the Olympics, which was cool to see. We went to the Louvre, and we did not go in, but we just like to see the architecture of it all. There's a cute cafe you can sit at there where you can just like overlook it. So we did that. And then we ended up going to this restaurant that night that I had pre-planned, that also had a hidden speakeasy in it. So that was kind of our outing of the night, is like dinner and then going to the speakeasy. And it was also the last night of Taylor's London show, and so we thought, oh my gosh, she's gonna announce Reputation. So we were kind of like watching live streams the entire time throughout dinner just to see like if her outfit would change and what her surprise songs would be. So yeah, we're just in Paris, doing that. Like it's totally normal. But it was just funny. Then we had our final day in Paris where we walked up the Champs-Élysées to the Arc de Triomphe, and it was nice and sunny on this day, thankfully. We walked to Trocadero where we saw the tourist outlook of the Eiffel Tower. And then there's actually a lot of other places to see the Eiffel Tower. You can like walk down towards the water and get a pretty good view of it. And it was also kind of cool because the area around the Eiffel Tower was pretty closed off for the Olympics. So the road right in front of it where like the rings are set on the Eiffel Tower, that was completely closed off. So there were no cars on that bridge. And you could get so close to it. So we had like really cool pictures of us like wide like 0.5 on the iPhone underneath the Eiffel Tower. So we spent a good amount of time there doing that. And then we kind of just walked around. We got some macaroons from this place that was recommended by TikTok. We saw this like famous hotel museum called Hotel Infidelis. And then there was this bougie grocery store that my friend wanted to go to get butter. I didn't quite understand the need for this, but I guess you can like buy French butter and they like vacuum seal it for you. And it can last for like 48 hours without refrigeration or something. I don't know the science behind it. But it was a very cool grocery store, and I ended up finding this cool spot in it where you could get like a custom Veuve case. So like like champagne. Veuve is like a very expensive champagne, and then like there was a case for it where you could like create different colors and put like a custom city on it. So we both got one that said Paris, and it was funny because here in the States, I don't know, I'd say a bottle can range from like 70 to 100 depending on where you are. But we got a full bottle plus this custom case thing for only 70 euros. So I was like, that's a steal if I've ever heard of one. We walked around there, and then we finally went to one of the most recommended cafes, Café des Fleurs. And we were just kind of sitting there having our dinner because we had a river cruise that night to sort of end the night. So we ended up going to, again, it's important that you go to a rooftop bar to end a city. So I had found this on TikTok as well, and it was so, like, I don't know, it's hard to, I think that one and then the one in Barcelona that overlooked the church was so amazing, but, like, it was breathtaking. And everyone had like a clear view of the tower, and the drinks were so good, and the waiters were so nice. So we went to this rooftop bar, and then from there it was like a 10-minute walk to our river cruise. So we got on this river cruise for like an hour, and it just like went up and down the Seine. We waited to see the Eiffel Tower sparkle, and again, it was just like the roads being shut off, like there are people everywhere, and it was just so fun. So we ended our night in Paris by doing that. And then, of course, the next day we headed back home. I had a full 24-hour travel day going from Paris to LAX and then LAX to Phoenix. And when I had originally booked these flights, I booked like a very cheap, like $60 Southwest flight back from LA to Phoenix, thinking that I was going to just do a carry-on because I've done carry-on the last 2 times I've been to Europe, but ended up changing my mind last minute and doing a checked bag. Thank God I would not have been able to bring that Veuve home. But I was panicking because I only had like 2 hours in between landing in LA and then getting on the next flight. So I had to get my bag off the like baggage claim belt, change terminals at LAX, recheck in the bag, and then like find my gate. So I was just a little bit nervous that I was gonna not make it, and had I not had a checked bag, I would have been fine. But I was like, if I check this bag in too late, it's not gonna make it on the plane, you know. But luckily, everything worked out. I was able to find a little tram that took you around and changed terminals. Although the people at the Southwest check-in were so mean to me, and I had already been up for quite a while. But now there's like those rope things where it's like you go through like a line. There was like almost no line. I was not gonna walk an extra like 50 feet to go through the rope, so I just like ducked under the rope. And the guy is like, "Ma'am, don't do that." And I was like, "Okay, well, sorry, like it's done." And then I get to the front, I put my bag down, and it's 3 pounds overweight, which I was confused by because on Air France it was fine, and like European weights are usually much more strict. So he's like, pay $100 right now or fix it. And I had my other bags. I was obviously like, okay, like give me a minute. So I was moving stuff around. And I got it to be 49 pounds, but I was just in the middle of, the airport doing this, like how you see people doing. It's always not a great look, but I was so tired and just trying to make this flight with my bag. So I put my stuff back in my bag, and just waited for like the next person to like move away. So then I just kind of went into their spot, and the guy was like, "Did you just cut the line? Like, were you even in line?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I literally just moved stuff out of my bag like you said." And he was like, "You're not supposed to do that." And I was like, "You told me like to fix it. Like I'm gonna get back in line. Like I was right here." And I was like, "I'm sorry. I've been traveling for a long time today." And he's like, "It's just really not that hard, ma'am." And I'm like, "All right, well, I'm here. Can we do this or what?" Like, I didn't say it like that. But whatever, he put the thing on my bag, and I was off, and I was like, "Why are they so rude here?" Like, I know that there's like stereotypes of certain airports being really mean, like JFK, but like LAX is not, my friend. And then I also have TSA pre-check, so I was like, God bless, because I can get through the line quicker. But I go up, and they're like, usually you just show them your ID, and it like has the pre-check code in there or whatever, and you're good to go. The Phoenix airport, by the way, is the nicest place you'll ever be. I love it here so much. But I go through this LAX pre-check, and I mean, it's fine. And then I go to put my stuff on the security belt, and they're like, "Show me your ticket. Let's make sure you're pre-check." I'm like, "Well, I obviously am. I wouldn't have made it through the line, but okay." So I'm like, "Okay, here's my ticket." And they're like, "Okay, great." Then I put my stuff through, and then to go through the little like metal detector, they're like, "Are you pre-check?" And I'm like, "Why am I being asked like 4 different times if I'm pre-check? Like I wouldn't have made it through the first security checkpoint had I not been pre-check." And I was like, "Yeah, like obviously." Like I was annoyed at this point. And they're like, "Well, I gotta just ask that person to make sure." I'm like, this is really unorganized and really inefficient. So, but whatever. I made it through. And for once in my life, a Southwest flight was actually on time. And I was honestly hoping it would be delayed because I'm like, if it's delayed, then my bag's got a better chance, whatever. But of course, it was on time, but it all worked out. So I got to the gate with like 20 minutes to spare before boarding. And then we get on the flight. It's not a full flight, God bless. So there was no one sitting next to me in the middle. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, why have we not like closed the plane doors? We get an alert saying your flight's delayed. And I was like, why? Like, why is this happening? I just want to go home. I did not sleep at all on the 11-hour flight to LAX. So I'm just like hoping I don't like black out and faint at some point. And it was because it was like thunderstorming in Phoenix. Like out of all the times of the year, it's not perfect weather here. It's got to do me dirty this one time. But I was actually pretty calm, and it only took about an hour. And then we finally took off, and then I got home. I clocked it. It was a full like 26 hours of me being awake and a full 24 hours of travel. So, oh God, it was so crazy. Anyways, I always like to mention like little cultural things I noticed being abroad, and I think the biggest takeaway was I think being abroad with two women. Me and my friend also were the same age. We look similar. People think we're like related, but we're not. We're both like Latina, dark, long hair, whatever. But the two of us walking around obviously we are put together because we're on vacation, so we're dressing cute, European. We've got full hair and makeup done every day. But the difference in culture of just us walking around, like we would just notice people staring at us. And this is not to sound cocky or conceited, but like people's heads would just like do like a full like 180 as we would walk. They would just like stare into our souls and follow us. And it was very uncomfortable. Like people here don't do that. They might like give you a quick glance, but like to stare at you that long is wild. Waiters, bartenders, people on the street would like come up to us and try to talk to us. My friend more specifically than me, which is fine. I'm not offended. Just asking us the strangest things like, where are you from? Can I have your number? And it's like, no, I don't live here. Like, no. um I don't know. The whole thing was just very interesting to me. And then we had a taxi driver the last night who took us back to our hotel. We weren't super into walking around late at night in Paris by ourselves. And he was like, where are you girls from? And we were like, oh, we're leaving tomorrow. And he's like, oh, should I give you a ride tomorrow to the airport? Like, it's not really safe in other cars. And I was like, I don't really feel safe in this car now that you've said that. So it's just so different. We had to like be kind of constantly on guard in a way, which I mean you always should be a little bit on guard in a foreign country, but just even more so I felt like. So that was a big thing. And then I will never get over how tiny the bathrooms are. And it's like you're at a pub or at a restaurant and you're like, oh, where's the bathroom? Like, first they call it toilet. Like, where's the toilet? Which I just think it sounds nasty, but whatever. It's a journey to get to the bathroom if you want to pee. First of all, you to go either up or down, like 2 flights of stairs. They're never very clean unless you're somewhere fancy. The stalls are like the size of your fridge, just like so small. It's like it just miss being in America where everything's so convenient and big. The water bottle caps on plastic water bottles too don't come off, which you would think is not a big deal, but it starts to get to you after a minute. So, what else? What else? I think that's it. Overall, it was an amazing trip. Trying to go to international trip at least twice a year now. Did Barcelona back in March and then did this in August, which I think it's nicer to go overseas, at least to like Western Europe, not mid peak of summer because one, it's really hot there. Very overcrowded with tourists. So going in these like slightly off peak months where it's still nice, I recommend it personally. I have also started to take notes now on places I've been to more than once. Just like writing down the restaurants, the bars, because it's like in London there was a night where we wanted to go back to a restaurant we had been to and I couldn't remember like where it was. So I had to go back through my photos and trying to find it, which I did, but it's like it would have been nice to just look at like a little sheet, be like, "Oh yeah, this is where we were." So I did that yesterday, made just like a long list of like the cool bars and stuff we've been to so that one day I can either look back on it or if someone ever needs suggestions, I can just send it to them. So that's something fun I did. Um, but yeah, I'm sure I'll have another trip planned soon. I can't go very long without one, although I'm trying to not travel again until December. I'm going to Hawaii for Christmas. But I'm also hoping to go to another Taylor Swift concert with my mother, who has never seen her and deeply regrets not going with me in Arizona when she had the opportunity. So, stay tuned for that. I am still tracking StubHub every day for the American prices, although they are ranging in the 2000s for like the upper nosebleeds. So we'll see what happens, but we are trying to find a city to go to in America so that she can experience it. So I may be getting on a plane after all in the next 2 months or so. But thank you for listening as always, and hopefully my voice recovers in the next week. And au revoir, everyone. It's been so fun, and thank you for listening to my little travel stories that I love to tell and relive. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys soon.